Thanks everyone and welcome. My name's Mike Blumenkranz with Arch Loans and Newport Commercial Capital. We are a hard money lender. Our topic today is the updates on the moratorium, forbearance, and overall eviction. I'm joined with my guest, Steffanie Stelnick, in the law office of Steffanie Stelnick. Thank you for joining today. So I'm excited for our topic. I know there's a lot of change going on. It hasn't yet really, we don't have anything official too much, but that's what the point of this discussion is. So I'm confident for those that are watching, they're going to have something to take away from this. So again, Steffanie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you everybody for having me. And thank you again, Mike and Arch, for asking me to join you guys today to give you a simple update, which is never ever simple right now with the eviction moratorium and the lending moratorium and the foreclosure moratorium. So there's still a lot going on and hopefully we're seeing the end of it, but we don't know for sure yet.
Yes. Now, so here's the big question for you to kick things off. What is the official end of the moratorium and the forbearance?
As of right now, it is allegedly September 30th, 2021. But when I say allegedly, it's because it was supposed to end June 30th, 2021, and they extended till September 30th, 2021. But the word on the street, it was just to give like the Judicial Council enough time to get all the documents ready for the new pleadings that are going to be required for the evictions moving forward after the expiration of the moratorium. So we are hoping that the ending of the eviction moratorium will be September 30th, 2020. But when I say eviction moratorium ending, that's for the state of California.
Okay.
We don't go with the counties.
So we should clarify today is September 14th of this recording that we have. And as of today, there is still a potential for an extension to take place, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I guess if you were to bet on it, are you expecting another extension to take place?
I am not expecting another extension, but in my defense, I was not expecting another extension in June. And I was devastated when they extended again.
At this point, maybe you know, are there any stats that you've seen of how many renters we have in California that are behind on their payments?
Believe it or not, it's not as many as you think it is. It's really the people that, my understanding and being in the property management world and being in these evictions, the people that actually should be claiming COVID are not. They're doing everything that they can to pay the rent. It's the ones that are seeing an opportunity to not pay the rent and not take the opportunity. That's why there's so much rent relief left over, because all the tenants haven't been applying for rent relief because they don't really need the rent relief. They can't even qualify for it.
And as a tenant, how are you able to access rental relief?
So for landlords and tenants now, because the tenants weren't applying as quickly, the landlords are now able to go to housingiskey.gov, which is the main California site. And it gives you great information as well for everybody about the eviction moratorium, what the requirements are, the resources you guys have to apply in order to hopefully get this rent relief. And I have had a bunch of tenants get the rent relief. Like I had one tenant that owed $70,000. California just deposited in the landlord about $55,000 of it.
Oh, wow. Now, what's the time frame for something like that to take place, for someone to file, get the relief?
4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, that's not so bad. At this point in time, what protections do tenants have that are still remaining from this moratorium?
So if they're claiming COVID, they still have every protection with the non-payment of rent. The best way to kind of give a synopsis of the rent moratorium is what people have dealt with in the city of Los Angeles and the city of San Francisco. Those type of rent control is the type that has become the eviction moratorium for the statewide rent control. So you can only evict for just cause, which really the only exception to eviction for eviction moratorium is if you're selling the property. You have to put it for sale, you have to do showings, you then have to give them a 60-day notice. And then if they don't vacate, then you can go to court and get them evicted.
Understood. Okay.
And also if they're violating the lease, you cannot get them for non-payment of rent, but if they're not in compliance with the lease, like they're trashing the house, they're not maintaining the house, all that stuff, you can go to court and get them evicted for.
Okay. And with that being said, the process to go to court, is that something that you still would say is this the same time frame that it was pre-COVID, or is this something that is now taking a longer court proceeding, court process?
Each case has been different. Some courthouses are moving a lot quicker. I've experienced out down here in LA County that I can get a court date within 20 days of actually submitting a request for a court date, and that wasn't before. It was taking a lot longer. But sometimes with the continuances, as soon as you get to court, the tenants try to get a continuance, and then those are thrown out way longer than we ever want to.
Okay.
So the courts are bombarded right now. And that's why I'm hoping there's not a longer an extension, because it's just going to make it worse for the courts.
So what you were mentioning before with a landlord being able to file a notice on their tenant, not for rent, but for trashing the property or some other issue, is that still with a 3-day to perform or quit, or is there a different process to follow?
No, it is a 3-day notice to perform or quit. Can include weekends, and it can include court holidays. And then after the 3-day notice to perform or quit has expired, you then have to give a 3-day notice to quit. That's
okay. Are landlords able to negotiate with their tenants if they would like them to vacate the property? Are they able to offer them cash for keys or any other incentives? Okay.
Yes.
Do you need to go through a court proceeding to do so?
No, my advice is to get to the tenant before it gets to court, if you can, because these eviction attorneys are demanding triple the amount because they're taking half of it. And so it's better for the tenant to work with you because their attorney is going to come in and take half of it.
Okay. Now, overall, for an eviction, what is the general cost for a landlord to evict a tenant?
I mean, right now it's probably without a jury trial, like with just going to court trial, you're talking about like $2,000. And then if you're going to a court trial, you can factor in paying. I mean, it depends on the different attorneys you use. Some attorneys for a jury trial are going up to $5,000 because a jury trial is taking 3 to 4 days, and juries are pissed about being called to be juries on these evictions. And so I would say $3,000 to $5,000 for a jury trial.
Okay. What issues in California for a landlord do you think that they will face when they're trying to sell a property with unpaying tenants?
Getting the tenants out, getting them to move, especially the ones that have been, because right now, especially in the city of Los Angeles, with the rent moratorium, the Ellis Act has been suspended. So you can't even go through the city of Los Angeles to start the procedure to get a tenant evicted through the Ellis Act right now. Okay. So
do you have any indication when that will be lifted?
Hopefully when the eviction moratorium is lifted, but that's going to be statewide. And then unfortunately the counties and cities get to do what they want to do. So that's why everything is still unknown. Okay.
Now, similar question, but geared towards more of our real estate investors. What issues in California for real estate investors will they typically face when buying a property that has unpaying tenants? What should they be looking for? What should they expect?
You got to just see that, see how the maintenance of the property is going. When you do your inspection, make sure to look for things like we've kind of like at my law firm started these inspections for evictions. So we have like a guy that goes out, does a full inspection of the property and knocks out like exactly what's wrong with the issue. So we can focus on the 3-day notice to perform versus the notice to quit for non-payment. So, and look for the communication of the tenants, that's the key, is to communicate with the tenants. If you can communicate with the tenants, that will ease all of this for you guys.
And how can an investor who's buying a property with a tenant be sure that the tenant has been actively paying rent if they claim they were?
You're going to ask the seller for records of it, which they probably won't have. Sometimes the tenants will meet with the sellers and the buyers and tell them too. But it's kind of hard. They should have records for you, and you should be able to ask for records of the tenant, like tenant estoppels. The tenants will sign telling them that they're in good condition with the lease and vice versa.
Okay. Now, if we have a property that the tenant or the landlord applied for the relief and were able to get the relief and then go into a selling or a sale for the property, are there any issues that could come up with something like that?
No, it's better. Like, to be honest, like even if I'm getting judgments right now against tenants that haven't paid in the COVID moratorium, we are still applying for rent relief because it'll go against the judgment. So it's still a benefit for both tenant and the landlord to get that money. And if the state's giving it out, why not?
Sure. And so, and again, just the comparison of pre-COVID to today with the, if it's not a court proceeding, you were saying, what would that time frame be for any evictions or any type of,
like I have we do have foreclosures taking place, and I can tell you we did a 3-day notice to quit. We then start the eviction. The problem is they're evading service, so we have to get order to post, and then you get the order to post, which is 15 days. So ideally, we can get into court within 30 days.
Okay. Sounds good. So any other nuances for any of the viewers that are watching, common questions that you receive in your office?
A lot of it is all about when it's going to be over the moratorium, but the problem is even if it is ending on September 30th, I think it's just going to open up more bag of worms that we're going to have to navigate to see what it's going to do for the court system.
Okay. And so let's say we have a landlord that's anticipating the moratorium lift. What should they be doing to preactively to get prepped for anything that they might need to take care of, whether they're working with you or not? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would inspect the property. I would try to schedule a 24-hour notice to enter to inspect the property to see if you can see anything going on with the property, to see if it's being maintained. Because if the eviction moratorium is extended, try to focus on getting tenants out for not being in compliance with the leases.
Understood. Okay. Well, Steffanie, I appreciate your time. That would conclude the questions that I have. If you'd like to get in touch with Steffanie in her office, we will have her information in the link or in this recording as well. So thank you again. And I guess we'll be chatting again soon when the moratorium is lifted so that we can help and advise anyone that's interested in how to navigate, I guess, the new path that they need to as a landlord or a potential buyer.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it. And
All right.
stay safe, everybody.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.